When former President Donald Trump declared his support for nationwide concealed carry reciprocity under the banner of House Resolution 38, it set off shockwaves across the gun rights world. The promise of one permit, valid in all 50 states, is the kind of rallying cry that millions of American gun owners have been waiting to hear for years. For many, this proposal is long overdue. For others, it's a dangerous overreach that could disrupt the balance between federal authority and state sovereignty. Whatever your perspective, the issue is now at the forefront of the national conversation, and it is impossible to ignore. At its core, H.R. 38, officially called the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, is deceptively simple. If you have a concealed carry permit issued by your state of residence, that permit would be recognized in every other state that allows concealed carry. The bill envisions the kind of reciprocity that Americans are used to in other areas of life. Your driver's license works when you cross a state border. Your marriage certificate remains valid when you move across the country, and your professional credentials can often be transferred. Supporters argue that constitutional rights, especially the right to bear arms under the Second Amendment, should function the same way. But of course, firearms are never a simple topic in America, and H.R. 38 has already drawn heated reactions. To understand why, we need to look more closely at what the bill does, what it doesn't do, and why it matters. One of the clearest features of H.R. 38 is the protection it offers permit holders who travel. Right now, carrying a gun legally in your home state can become a crime the moment you cross into another jurisdiction with stricter laws. The result is a confusing patchwork map where reciprocity agreements vary wildly. Some states recognize all out-of-state permits, others recognize none, and many have complicated bilateral arrangements. For gun owners who travel frequently, this isn't just an inconvenience, it can be life-altering. Get it wrong, and you could face felony charges. The Shaneen Allen case from 2013 is a perfect example. Allen, a Pennsylvania mother of two, had a valid permit in her state, but when she drove into New Jersey and was pulled over, she was arrested and charged for possessing her firearm. She faced years in prison before eventually being pardoned. Stories like hers are cited constantly by advocates for reciprocity. No one should be turned into a criminal simply by crossing a state line with a permit they earned legally. Another feature of H.R. 38 is the private right of action. Under this provision, if a lawful permit holder is detained, arrested, or prosecuted for carrying in another state under the terms of the bill, they have the right to sue that jurisdiction. The burden would then fall on the authorities to prove that the permit holder was not covered by the law. Supporters see this as a necessary safeguard against overzealous enforcement, ensuring that local governments cannot simply ignore reciprocity and arrest people anyway. Critics argue it invites litigation and undermines the ability of states to enforce their own public safety standards. Supporters of H.R. 38, including Trump himself, frame the bill as common sense. With more than 21 million concealed carry permit holders across the country, it's hard to argue that this is some fringe demand. The bill's backers stress that permit holders are among the most law-abiding citizens in America, often with lower crime rates than police officers. They point out that training and background checks are already baked into the permitting process in most states. If a person is trusted to carry a firearm responsibly in one jurisdiction, why should they instantly become untrustworthy across a border? For these advocates, it's not just about convenience, it's about fairness, consistency, and recognizing the Second Amendment as a national standard, not a patchwork privilege. Opposition, however, is fierce. States with strict gun control laws see reciprocity as an attack on their sovereignty. If H.R. 38 passes, a person with a permit from a state with minimal requirements, perhaps no training mandate, no live fire qualification, or even permitless carry, could legally carry a firearm in states that impose far stricter standards. For officials in places like New York, New Jersey, and California, that feels like Washington forcing their hand, nullifying their ability to set their own rules for public safety. Law enforcement groups have also voiced concerns. Imagine a police officer stopping someone on the roadside. How do they verify a permit from another state? How do they know it's valid, expired, or fraudulent? The administrative burden could be massive, and the risks of mistakes high. Beyond enforcement, opponents raise philosophical objections. The 10th Amendment protects state rights, and they argue that firearms policy is precisely the kind of area states should control. They also worry about increases in crime, citing research from organizations like Everytown for Gun Safety and RAND that suggest more permissive carry laws may correlate with higher rates of violence. Supporters counter with studies showing the opposite, pointing to data from the Crime Prevention Research Center that concealed carry holders reduce crime and deter criminals. Like so many gun debates, the data war is endless, with each side cherry-picking statistics to bolster its case. The political path for H.R. 38 is anything but straightforward. In the House, especially with strong Republican support, it has momentum. The Judiciary Committee has moved it forward, and Trump's endorsement adds enormous political capital. But the Senate is another story. Even if Republicans gain ground, the filibuster looms as a nearly insurmountable obstacle. The bill would need 60 votes, and it's difficult to imagine 10 Democrats breaking ranks to support national reciprocity. That doesn't mean the fight is pointless, though. Passing in the House and moving into the national spotlight can set the stage for future battles, core challenges, and perhaps even eventual Supreme Court review. Indeed, the Supreme Court may ultimately be the arena where this issue is resolved. Since the landmark cases of District of Columbia v. Heller in 2008 and NYSRPA v. Bruin in 2022, the court has made clear that the Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms in common use, and that modern gun laws must align with America's historical traditions. National reciprocity could be framed as a logical extension of those rulings. If the right to bear arms is fundamental, why should it vanish at a state border? On the other hand, the court also balances federalism and may be reluctant to dictate uniform standards that strip states of authority. It's a constitutional tug-of-war waiting to happen. For everyday Americans, though, the debate is less abstract. It's about safety, security, and peace of mind. Consider the business traveler who drives across 3 states in a single week. Consider the single mother visiting relatives out of state. Consider the truck driver whose routes span the country. For all of them, carrying legally at home but risking arrest elsewhere is a nightmare. H.R. 38 promises to fix that. Whether it actually will is still up for debate, but the demand is real, and the frustration among gun owners is growing. Opponents are right about one thing. H.R. 38 would change the game dramatically. It would override decades of state-level experimentation with gun laws, flattening a complex system into a single standard of recognition. That's exactly why supporters love it and why critics fear it. It represents a bold assertion that the Second Amendment should function uniformly across America, rather than as a right that evaporates when you cross a line on the map. Looking forward, the bill's fate remains uncertain. It may stall in the Senate, it may be challenged in the courts, it may resurface in future sessions of Congress if Republicans retake the White House or strengthen their majorities. What is certain is that Trump's announcement has given the idea new energy and put it firmly back into the spotlight. Gun owners across the country are watching closely, hoping that the dream of one permit for all 50 states becomes a reality. At the same time, gun control advocates are preparing to fight tooth and nail, warning that reciprocity could undermine decades of progress in states that have chosen stricter approaches. In the end, this debate reflects the broader struggle in American gun politics, the clash between individual rights and collective security.